What if your cold emails felt less like spam and more like a thoughtful intro from a trusted peer? In this video, I'm going to show you how we are flipping outbound on its head by being deeply human, by being hyper relevant, but still being powered by AI. No more spray and pray. This is Outbound reimagined. Let's get started. All right, guys. So before I get started on how I've built my model and the underlying principle behind it, I want to quickly take you through some of the examples of email copies I've been getting using my principles. My principles are based on understanding timing, understanding readiness, and really truly empathizing with your prospects so you understand what's going on in their world. So here is an example of an email that I've gotten from my model. So it says e-surfboards plus sustainable adventure plus AI growth. Let's see what this means. So what I like about this is a subject that is so unique that this person should understand most likely that this is made only for them. This is not a template, right? Question for Mahesh is a template. Mahesh question mark is a template. Moonrise Health question mark, that's the name of my company, is a template, right? But this is not a template, This doesn't feel like a template at least. So it says, hey Martha, we're yet to be properly introduced, but I'm Mahesh. I like this because it sort of makes it feel like, you should have been introduced, right? Came across the company awake while researching the electric mobility market and struck by a mission since your founding. So this is pretty good. Feels like you've spent time researching on their mission when they started. With current market projections showing so much CAGR, I don't know, the recent move to CEO in April, I imagine scaling customer acquisition or maintaining a sustainability focus presents both opportunity and challenge. Yeah. As a founder, I understand this firsthand. And then I present the outbound and I also do an objection handling. And then I give them a GTM audit. So here I'm not asking for like a call or anything. And I have different CTAs depending on where the person is in the funnel. And I measure that. It's a subjective measurement, but it's better than not having a measurement and just having one size fits all, in my opinion. Obviously, you should A/B test it and see how it works for you. But for me, what I find interesting is in my work here so far is that when I add adaptive CTAs and give them a subjective score, with like, let's say timing, market capital, or like market capital available signals in terms of what's happened, funding, recruitment, and so on, I can then give them different CTAs, right? I'm going to take you through the step-by-step there on how I do it so you can copy it. And at the end of this video, I have a surprise for you where you don't have to work with the JSON file. I built it as a front end for you. So you can literally put in your data and get the emails output to your sent to your inbox. You can get a few that way. Obviously, it's not a scalable solution, but you get an idea of how to work with it, right? So for those that are curious, stay on to the end and I'll show you how to use that tool I built. Here's another one, gift card market growth, recent CEO promotion, outbound scaling. Yeah, it's pretty long subject line. I mean, people that are, big suckers of having very small, short cold emails would probably think this is pretty long. But for me, it depends on who you're targeting. If you're targeting a C-level person, just having a short email doesn't mean anything because it's easy to not respond. But having a well thought out, personalized email that appeals to them and feels human, feels like you put in the effort, and also handles their objection pretty fast, means that handles objection and gives them a very easy CTA to do, which is like on their terms or easy to forward or whatever to their team. Then there's a higher chance that you can, in my opinion, you can use a longer email. But obviously, if you're selling like a product that is very easy to sell, it's $200, it's a commodity, then maybe you don't want to be writing wrong emails. So this is something you need to A/B test. But for me, this works pretty well. So I would not be heuristic in saying that if it's long, don't work. If it's short, it should work. Or I would not be stuck in things like that. I'd be stuck in like principles, which is this email human sounding? Is this email coming from a genuine place of empathy and care that you want to build a relationship and you're not trying to hustle money, right? So here's another one. So this is to a health company. Carb Fence US launch, GLP-1 patient transition plus strategy. I don't know. We had to be properly introduced. Okay, this uses the same thing there. I noticed Sigrid recently secured $4 million. That's good. Specifically GLP-1 patients. All right, so the segue here is scaling and from R&D to commercialization. How are you thinking about it? And then this is sort of the value prop and the objection handling, and this is the CTA, right? So yeah, so this is the output I'm getting. But let me walk you through how I built this. But before that, I want to walk you through the principles behind it. So for me, I'm sure a lot of you like me get shit cold emails. 99% of cold emails are shit. Basically, they are the personalization is the name of your company and a question mark. But I don't think it should be that way. And I'm a big fan of human first outbound emails where you have the right time, the right message, and the right offer. So what do I mean by that? So what I mean by that is that to have a human first outbound, you want to have empathy. And if you get empathy, you get sales going. So basically, if you look at Alex Harmosi's value equation, which you turned around for sales over here, is if you can help your prospect achieve their dream outcome with the highest probability compared to everybody else in the market, with the least amount of effort and sacrifice, you will win. So your job as a salesperson is to figure out empathetically what their problems are, where are they stuck, and how to get them to their dream outcome. And I love doing this on scale and with a larger ticket, like larger, more complicated processes, because you can literally unlock a lot more value, right? So that's how I think about it from a human first outbound B2B point of view. And if you look at the timing and the messaging, there's obviously some signals that you need to think about, which is like firmographic, which industry, revenue size, and so on, which is just basic segmentation. But then there are a lot of interesting data points, like hiring is a data point, funding is a data point, job change the person's gone through is a data point, and so on. And what you're trying to do is to craft a human point of view, which is putting the lead, the prospect you're writing to, in the center and understanding everything going on in their world. So do you have common connections with them from your LinkedIn? What groups are they part of on LinkedIn? What have they written about in terms of X in Twitter or X or in LinkedIn? What can you use on their website, the blog, wherever you can find information that is relevant for what you do and who they are. From a lead point of view, you can construct a complete profile of the lead. You do exactly the same, construct a complete profile of the company, and you do exactly the same, construct a complete profile of the industry that they are in. So you have industry speak or the lingo that they use, and not, like you do. So for instance, if you're in healthcare, you use patients, but if you're in law, you use clients. Like you don't want to be saying patients to law firms, right? And AI can easily do that. So you want to really understand the vertical, the lingo that is used in the vertical, right? And I would really recommend you to check this lady called Samantha McKenna. I found her through the Apollo Academy, which I also really enjoy. And she has a course over there called Show Me You Know Me. And her approach is very manual, which I like. There's nothing wrong, by the way, doing manual outbound. If it's human first, I love it. So her approach is don't worry about scale, do it manually. And I totally agree in terms of getting obsessed with volume. But what you can do, I don't know when this course was filmed, but what you can do today is to take the frameworks of how to make it human-like and give AI scale to it. And that's really where the magic happens, right? That's really where you start seeing best of two worlds happening. But if you don't have time, I would really recommend you to watch
I think
just
part
this
of what
video, the
harms us from a
human, the
sales
company,
perspective.
the space, I think that's what she calls it. And there's a PDF over here. And this is literally what I do. And when I discovered her work, I was ecstatic because somebody's put better words than I have. But I really like the way she's framed it, which is start on LinkedIn, visit their company's website, look for executive activity, do some Googling. Again, this is old, you can do a lot more stuff with AI, but I mean, the principles are the same, right? So you want to really understand where is this person, what is going on in their life, what do you have in common with this person, which is completely underutilized. I mean, if I look at all the fundraisings I've done, it's all been through warm introductions because people I know introduce me to somebody they know, right? And if you can apply the same with cold sales, like you have 2 degrees of separation or 1 degree of separation, start using that in your AI and give that at scale, you will win, right? So if you start name dropping people you might know together, that's a great subject line, right? So I'd really recommend you to check this PDF. And she has more principles of how to avoid personalization pitfalls, because I would say it's better to send a generic cold email that is just generic cold email but has value in it than trying to be cute and personalized that falls flat. I would say it's better, there's a higher chance that there's better open rates and reply rates to cold templated emails than wannabe personalization emails that fall flat. So you want to be really careful how you personalize and don't fall for the trap of just first name personalization. All right, so enough theory. So human point of view and adaptive CTA is, I've spoken about this in a couple of other videos, but you don't want to be asking everybody for a call. If they're not ready, you need to nurture them, give them value, right? And if you get your score right and the scoring model right, and if they're very close to sale or they're very ready to engage, then of course you should ask for a call, right? Because you have intelligence to ask that. All right, so let's look at how I built this in n8n. I love n8n. My tech stack is very simple. I use Apollo for lead scraping. I use n8n for my workflows. I use Claude to write my emails. I use Perplexity for research along with different scraping tools from API. And I use Instantly for my email sending. And all this happens automatically. And my Airtable is where my intelligence is, so the CRM is. And literally what I need to do to get this started, which I think I'll do as I speak here, is click on that yet to be enriched. And I can obviously do this on scale. And once that happens, you're going to see whether they qualify or not. You're going to go through a bunch of different steps where we get their signals from their website, we get signals from their company LinkedIn, we get human signals for the person's, what's going on in the person's life, you get industry signals, you get news sources, you get timing, which is really determining your adaptive CTA. And from here, I write the email copy with the subject, with the follow-ups. I write 7 follow-ups in this sequence because I think I'm going to probably do A/B testing with follow-up 4, 5, 6 as a separate campaign. But anyway, so this is what I'm doing. So let me walk you through the steps in n8n. Here, it all starts with a webhook. And a webhook is basically a way to connect two different applications. You have a test URL and a production URL. And a couple of you asked me last time on where to do this in terms of in what's called Airtable. So over here, let me just quickly show you as my workflows are running, is you'd come into automations over here. And here I've set up two automations, which is when I click on yet to be enriched, which is what you saw me do. So if I click on start lead qualification, the status is yet to be enriched, start this automation, and then I run a script. You can click on this plus and then you get an option to run a script. Okay. So if you scroll down, you can run a script. Okay. And this script I got from ChatGPT, where you can literally ask it. If you want this script, let me know, I'll send it to you. But basically, this is where you have the webhook URL. Okay. And this webhook URL you got from n8n. And once you do that, the two applications are connected, which means that when you test for this, you get the data from Airtable there. And you can obviously do this on scale. So the way it gets matched between which lead to send is to something called record ID. So the record ID is connected over here on the left-hand side. So you have the Airtable record ID, which is sent to every lead, and that's a unique ID. Okay. So I hope this really clarifies how I connect and start the whole workflow. And obviously, Airtable node is where I get the data. So in this case, so you have Theodore here, and I get all his data from whatever I have on Airtable. And then once I have that, I have two things going on here. So I start with the company signals. So company signals for me are the website. So I use an API scraper. LinkedIn scraping, which is just a GET request. So literally, you can just type GET. So you take a node called HTTP node, and then, oh no, I'm using a company scraper here, right? Because I get much better data. That's true. So I'm using not a GET request, but a POST request, and I'm using an API scraper. I love API because it's very reliable. And Curious Coder, especially, big shout out to him. He's really reliable. And then I have a HTTP request for the website, right? So, and then I put this into two OpenAI models where I analyze, and then I merge them. And then I get what I call company insights. And these company insights gives me the following. I get what's the clean company name. So if you have company names that says, Turbotic GmbH, which is like Inc. in Germany, you don't want to be saying Turbotic GmbH. You want it to be a clean company name. And then I get the emission and positioning. I get the emission positioning from LinkedIn. I get customer proof, like what's on their website in terms of testimonials. People love listening to their own testimonials, especially if you're a founder, because you're very proud of the work you do, and mostly. And quotes for outreach, what can you use from LinkedIn? So these are quotes that you can use in your follow-ups, and you'll see how I'm intelligently using them in my follow-ups, because this is all really gold of data that is highly relevant in terms of speaking their own language. Once I do that, I update a field in Airtable called Company Insights. So I have company LinkedIn signals, website signals, and you see that I've standardized the output. So I always want to know the mission and positioning. I want to know the founder origin story. And founder origin story is so good, by the way, because me as a founder, I would react very differently if somebody spoke to my origin story and connected with me on the why level than on the what level, right? So it's origin story is such gold dust if you can find it. So expansion signals, customer proof, quotes for outreach, and the same over here. Okay, jobs mentioned, that's also interesting. So you can use that as a trigger later on. So now the company part is done. Let's go on to the lead part. The lead part over here is LinkedIn scraping, and then I take the data from Airtable and put that into Perplexity as well. So I use LinkedIn of the person and I use Perplexity. Perplexity is like my triangulation magic tool. I bring a lot of things into Perplexity because it's makes sense of all the data and gives me golden nuggets from there. So from LinkedIn person, I find what are the key insights, and then I merge the Perplexity data and the person's data, so I get a complete human point of view. Once I get that, I clean all this, and then I update a human signal table or value in Airtable. So under human signals, I want to know like what is the summary from Perplexity and LinkedIn, and I get a beautiful bullet point summary that you see on the left hand side, and that's why I love Perplexity, because it gives you like here's the highest to the lowest in terms of what's relevant for you. And then I get sources. Like sometimes I've had people replying saying, hey, where did you find me about this? Because Perplexity finds weird things, and then I have a link to send. I'm saying, hey, this is where I found something more about you, and this is I was using Perplexity for this, and they're always surprised because they found a source of information about themselves that they didn't know was found on the internet, right? Anyway, and then I put this on industry analysis. So this is where the industry part comes. So again, I use Perplexity. You can see my code over here, and these are the prompts, and I put this in and I ask it to give me information on the industry, on what's going on in their industry, right? And then I update this same thing. So now I've collected everything about their company, website, LinkedIn. I've collected everything about the person, LinkedIn, Perplexity. I've collected everything about the industry from Perplexity. Now I put all this into something called input for timing. By the way, all this is stored in Airtable, which means that as my tools evolve and as cold email is a compounding game, if people don't reply, which many won't, 90% won't, you have data to go back to maybe 3 months from now, and build relationships again. So it's literally gold that you're saving all this data, because you can obviously, with more AI computing power, you can start adding more and more things into your AI nurturing machine, I'm sure, and you can start using this data, keep adding data, keep nurturing, so it's a very good way to keep track of all the intelligence that you're collecting in a very structured way. All right, so once I do that, what I'm asking Perplexity to do is, this is the key question for me to make it human. So I basically ask it saying, okay, Perplexity, based on all this data, can you give me a score on how ready are they for my service? And then break it down into the following. Are they ready to grow? Do they have a need to grow? Do they have capital to grow? Okay, and do they have a trigger to act now? And I give it in my prompt on the left-hand side, I give it ways to look for this, right? And this is a subjective exercise. And what I've done is try to make the output collection until this point so standardized that there is subjectivity, but it's within reasonable frameworks, right? And then I put an if model, which tells me that if the score is about 2, I proceed, otherwise they're not ready. And if they're not ready, they're not ready, And then I update the status so that they're qualified, and then the email starts coming out. And these are my prompts for my model, and I update the email body, and then I input the follow-ups. And I use the first signal as the first email, and then the signals you've collected, I use that for the follow-ups. Or you can use it for separate campaigns, of course. So over here, we started in the start of this demo, I started by showing you, that these 3 at the end were not qualified. So I had to, I ticked them for you, right? So now let's see what the output is. So you can see that the website signals have been collected. So let's see, this company is an online experience-based platform, not available. Okay, GTM expansion, what's going on? Customer proof, fantastic. Then this is in Swedish, but yeah, I mean, it's good. By the way, I'm figuring out how to make this work across languages, so I'll get back to you. So here you can see company LinkedIn signals, human signals. Let's see what the human signals are. Hans is a CEO, blah, blah, blah. No explicit recent activities, no data on international expansion. Profile lacks concrete activity. All right, he's not very active. And then market trends. So timing score is 2.3. It's pretty low, but on 3, right? So you want it as high. For me, it's as close to 3 as possible. So I can look at this data and say, do I still want to send it? Do I trust the AI or shall I read a little bit more, right? So yeah, so this is the email I get. And then if I look at some of the follow-ups, the follow-up subjects are pretty good too, right? Your 1523 clients plus scaling question. You would probably know this number if it's not such a large company, right? Yeah, I mean, it's pretty good. If you ask me, let's see how the data is going to be. I'm going to get back to you once I get a little bit more data on reply rates. My open rates are through the roof. It's like 60% and plus, but reply rates can vary. The best campaign I have so far has a 22% reply rate, which is fantastic. But let's see how it scales, right? So I'm not going to count the chickens until they hatch. But yeah, PS is great. So this is what I get from my output. And to reiterate, if you can make personalization work with timing, relevance, and CTA or value, and you have a clear follow-up structure, and you're trying to really help coming from a place of genuine empathy, I think your emails will do great. But on the other hand, if you're hustling and you are sleazy and slimy and you're just trying to get money, I don't know. It's not my style. I'm sure it'll work, but it's not my style. That's not what I'm building. So if you, like me, love human first outbound in this crazy world of AI, subscribe, like, and let me know what next video you need. And before I forget, let me quickly show you the engine I've built where you can try this, not the complete model, but almost a complete model. So you're going to find that in the URL here. It's I'll put that in the link below. So basically, we do exactly the same, but I've sort of reduced the number of tokens, so it's slightly less in terms of processing, but you get basically the same model. And you get 1 opening email and 2 follow-ups sent to your inbox. So the way you do that is you add name about yourself. So this is your company. This is the sender, right? This is you. So your name, your company, your website, your LinkedIn, your email, then your prospect, who you want this to be sent to. You can add as much as possible. And then here is where the important things happen. So here, you want to give me triggers, you want to give me your value proposition, you want to give me your objections, and you want to give me any other important points, right? And then pick two to call to actions, and then it'll come up with a score for you. And then you submit it, and within 15 minutes, email that looks like this. Let me quickly show you. So you'd get an email that is personalized to you. It also gives you a full breakdown in terms of like how it's analyzed, so you know what's going on. So over here, you can see that, so here's my honest take. It looks like a strong candidate. So is the timing good or not? And then here's the first cold email. Here's the follow-up. Here's the follow-up too, right? So this you would get for free. Try it. I'm really curious to see if we can all together make better human first outbound. So give it a try. Give me your feedback. I'd love to talk to you very soon. Until then, stay safe. Keep building. Bye.